Sullivan Brothers Award of Valor ceremony. I'm Roxanne Ryan, the Commissioner of Public Safety. We thank all of you for joining us today as we recognize and honor some heroic Iowans for the work that they have done as first responders. You probably recognize the longest-serving governor of the United States, who is joining us today as well, Governor Terry Branstad. I'll introduce him in a few minutes to make some remarks. But let's begin by recognizing any veterans that we may have in the audience, any law enforcement officers or retirees who have joined us today. Those of you who are seated, please stand if you can, and we'll recognize all of you. Thank all of you for your service and your sacrifice that you've made for our country. We also want to recognize the families of those veterans and the law enforcement officers and retirees who are here today, because we know that the families also share in that service and sacrifice for the country. So those of you who are family members, please stand and we'll recognize you as well. Thank you. Let me begin by introducing the 2016 Sullivan Brothers Award of Valor Review Committee. That includes Mark Weidman of the State Fire Marshal's Office in the Iowa Department of Public Safety, Jeremy Logan, who is the chief in Owine, Lonnie Polkravic from Johnson County, who is not able to be here today, Rick Rowe, the Clive Fire Chief, Dave Zimpel, the past president of the Iowa Firefighters Association, Nancy Kintner, who is an amazing volunteer from the Red Cross, and Alex Murphy, who is our public information officer in the Department of Public Safety. I also have the pleasure of serving on that committee with all of these members. Committee members devote their valuable hours in reviewing each and every nomination. They make a final decision about which nominees qualify for the award, and we appreciate all of their time and effort, and I would ask that we also have a round of applause for all of them. Let me begin the ceremony with a little background about the namesakes for the Sullivan Brothers Award. There were 5 Sullivan brothers from Waterloo. They enlisted and served together in the Navy in World War II. George, Frank, Joe, Matt, and Al, all of whom were in their 20s, served together on the USS Juneau in the Guadalcanal Naval Battle in the fall of 1942. All 5 brothers were killed when the USS Juneau was struck by 2 Japanese torpedoes. The Governor's Award of Valor, which was originally established in 1977, was renamed the Sullivan Brothers Award of Valor in order to recognize the heroic efforts of first responders. This award recognizes peace officers and firefighters who, while serving in their official capacity, distinguish themselves by the performance of an heroic act in excess of normal demands of police or fire service when the person was fully aware of the threat to his or her own personal safety. This award is very special, and the nominees have to meet very strict guidelines. The peace officers and firefighters often go above and beyond of what we expect of other people. These awards of valor are designed to recognize those who go beyond the usual and are particularly heroic as first responders. Background investigations are completed on all of the nominations, and then the review committee, representing both fire service and law enforcement, reviews the nominations and the investigation in order to determine whether the nominee meets the standards that are set for that award. As Commissioner of Public Safety, it is my honor to work with many of these dedicated individuals who devote their lives to protecting the safety of every person in Iowa. This award ceremony takes that dedication and bravery to a new level. It is inspiring to hear about the actions that each of these award winners took to save another person's life without regard to their own personal danger, and it is an honor to be able to recognize them today. It is now my privilege to introduce Governor Terry Branstad. Governor Branstad was born, raised, and educated in Iowa. He's a native of Leland, Iowa, and a proud military veteran. He was first elected to the Iowa House in 1972 and became Lieutenant Governor the year after this award was created, and he was first elected Governor of Iowa in 1983. He has now served the people of Iowa as Governor longer than anyone else in the United States. He and Lieutenant Governor Kim Reynolds visit every county in the state every year, and they probably know more about Iowa than anybody else. So it is my honor to introduce Governor Terry Branstad.
Commissioner Roxanne Ryan, thank you for that very nice introduction, and thank you for your leadership of the Department of Public Safety. I want to say this is probably the biggest turnout we've ever had for this event. I'm pleased to see so many uniformed officers here. I want to personally just say thanks to all the people that saw extra duty because of the flooding we've had in the last month. We had a lot of our Highway Patrol, National Guard, Fire Service, and many other first responders that responded to the floods we had. And we had one non-flood related death in Cedar Rapids of a 13-year-old girl. That was a tragic accident. But we had none related to the flooding. And I think that's a really tribute to the professionalism and the great work of the local elected officials and all the first responders and people that participated. It is a great privilege for me to attend this Sullivan Brothers Award of Valor ceremony and also the Historic Valor Awards that we're going to be giving out for the first time this year. I want to congratulate the award recipients, their families, and friends who are present with us today. I commend the historic actions that these individuals have displayed. We are inspired by these individuals because they set such an outstanding example for all of us. There are honorable people working throughout our state, in cities, in towns of all sizes, that put the needs of their community first and their personal well-being second. They continue to serve with distinction and valor, and we are very proud of them. I've always believed that our first responders and those serving in public safety across Iowa play a very critical role in protecting the people of Iowa, and we're one of the safest states in the country as a result. Today's ceremony is an opportunity for us who are thankful to say we appreciate you and we recognize the extraordinary service and valor that you have shown in your communities and the positive impact you've had on the lives of so many other people. Whether they are normal, everyday duties or going above and beyond those duties that are required that we recognize today. The citizens of Iowa are grateful and are very appreciative of these people that are receiving the awards. For I want to say thank you to each of the award recipients. What each of you has done is nothing short of heroic, and that's why the committee has recommended you for this award. And we want to just say we're proud of you, and we are appreciative, and we know you're going to keep up the good work. So on behalf of the very great people of this wonderful state, I'm proud to say thank you and keep up the great work. Thank you very much.
Now let me introduce the award recipients for the Sullivan Brothers Award. Lieutenant Dennis Mernka of the Fort Dodge Police Department, Officer Nathan Eldredge, the Fort Dodge Police Department, and Trooper Matt Eimers, Iowa State Patrol, District 7. On the morning of Saturday, December 12th, 2015, the Webster County Telecommunications Center received a call of a distressed man on the Union Pacific Railroad Bridge that spans the Des Moines River Basin in Fort Dodge. The high trestle bridge is more than 100 feet tall in the middle, and it's more than 2,000 feet long. This particular morning, it was 35 degrees with a steady wind blowing through the river valley with the wind chill in the mid-20s and a light dusting of snow and frost on the bridge. Lieutenant Mernka was the first to arrive and make contact with the subject. The subject was very distraught and making repeated threats to jump off the bridge and commit suicide. Several minutes later, Officer Eldredge arrived on the scene and made his way out onto the bridge with the others. Both were unable to get the individual off the bridge, so they requested an Iowa State Patrol crisis negotiator. Trooper Matthew Eimers arrived approximately an hour after the incident started. Trooper Eimers made his way out onto the bridge with the other officers. The cold conditions made this difficult for the officers and for the subject involved. But the talks between the officers and the subject continued for some time. The efforts were made to get the subject to move to the center of the bridge in hopes of either restraining him or getting him to agree to come off of the bridge and get some mental health assistance. The officers demonstrated immense patience in very difficult conditions. About 3 hours and 40 minutes later, after the first officer had arrived on the scene, the subject agreed to come with the officers off the bridge. As he was walking off of the bridge, he turned and ran away from the officers toward the edge of the bridge. In this area, the bridge is approximately 40 feet in the air. The subject attempted to jump from the bridge, and without regard to personal safety, Officer Eldredge pursued the subject. As the subject jumped off the bridge, Officer Eldredge dove for him and grabbed him around the torso as the subject went over the bridge. The subject was 5'8" and 250 pounds. The weight of that person began to pull Officer Eldredge over the edge of the bridge. Regardless, he did not let go of that man. At that moment, Trooper Eimers lunged toward the edge and grabbed Officer Eldredge. The weight of the man continued to pull the two officers over the edge. Lieutenant Mernka lunged onto the other two officers and was able to stabilize them from going over the edge. A short time later, the subject ultimately slipped from the grasp of Officer Eldredge and fell to the ground below. Fortunately, his injuries were not fatal. Though he suffered some significant injuries, he is still alive today, recovering from his physical injuries and treating his mental health issues. All of the officers involved stated their natural fear of heights. These three men were nominated by Fort Dodge Police Chief Kevin Doty and Iowa State Patrol District 7 Lieutenant Kelly Hyman. And we are very proud to be able to present the Award of Valor to these three men.
Officer Eldredge, congratulations. Trooper Eimers, congratulations. Now I think we're going to take a picture.
Next, we honor Captain Derek Brown of the Cedar Falls Fire and Rescue, firefighter Shane Farmer of the